the amount of product put on that field, when it was, down to the hour, because chemicals have a reentry period. They have days to harvest. Each chemical has its own days to harvest before you can pick it after it's applied. So the record keeping goes on and on and on, and it's getting a lot more electronically based. So it's easier to store this, and it's quicker access, and you'll learn things that you never even thought you'd have to be worried about. Was your driver trained to not smoke a cigarette or spit in the field or pick the garbage up when they're done eating lunch? But it all comes back to we're all accountable for it all. So there's a lot of record involved. Our inventory for ourselves is a big handful.
Has it doubled in 10 years? Would you say the record keeping?
As far as the pesticides,
yeah,
it's about the same.
Okay.
And California's been real stringent as far as chemical use. Food safety was ramped up tremendously. We sign, most of our growers will get a packet each year updating that we are going to follow certain procedures and that the training has been done, and we guarantee it. The water that we apply on the plants come out of a municipal supply at our yard, which is tested every 20 days. So the water that Salinas is drinking is also tested before we apply it on to our fields. As part of the Lipe Jr agreement, which came about from the spinach over in San Juan Bautista a few years back. Any organic products we carry come with a letter guarantee, and they're stored separately. They're applied with separate equipment, so there's no cross-contamination of any sorts. And all that's recorded is recorded to the time of when it was sterilized between jobs. The water, no water leaves our facility because they found some contaminants downstream about 5 years ago. So we have a filtration system that we spent close to $1 million on that filters everything to non-detectable. So we talked about regulations earlier, and they cost, but we continually learn as we go. Unfortunately, the hard part about it is you find out after you made a mistake, but we won't make a mistake twice.
So specifically the record keeping in our system, everything starts out through a retail agricultural based software program called AgVance. Every order we take is put through there. When we go to the county level, we're reporting to a system called Agrian, not Agrium like Lon's company, but Agrian with an N. And that's pretty industry standard. I think everybody's using that. Where the complications arise for us, when we talk about organic, with the spinach E. coli outbreak in Salinas, was the first new overhead position we created in the name of regulation or food safety or whatever you might call it. We hired a environmental biologist, and she created our product safety. She's our product safety advisor. So all organic products come with the EHEC, with the total fecal coliform, with the salmonella test, E. coli. I think those 4 or 5 are the main ones we look for now. Reason being is that all of these diseases can live and propagate in organic fertilizer. In our conventional fertilizer, these organisms and these things that could kill you, they don't live. The free ammonia kills them on contact. They don't even live 5 minutes when you put it in conventional. So it's the record keeping on the organic, probably 10 times more paperwork than conventional, which is really important. The hard part for us is when we get somebody like McDonald's or Walmart that calls us up and wants input records on a field that they bought straight away from somebody. And we've been pretty hard line on this. We are only providing that information to the guy who pays the bill. There's shippers that come in, and we work for a lot of shippers that have their own farming operations, so it gets to be real tough. But if I'm not giving the bill to that shipper, I don't provide them with any input information at all, period. Whether that changes in the future or not, as written recommendations for fertilizer becomes part of this deal, you're going to have the same deal with your compost where some CCA, someone's going to have to make a piece of paper that says it's okay to put on your dirt on the dirt. So, you know, who owns that information? Once it's reported to the county through Agrian, which fertilizer is not right now, you know, Joel might know how long it's going to be till it is. I know Joel Wiley's involved in a lot of these meetings. We don't know what. In 2015 is what they're saying. You know, the new ag waiver in Salinas and the record keeping on all the water, and if there's fertilizer or pesticides in that water, there has to be drinking water standards. And I hear this morning on the news that this has all been derailed by a federal level thing that says you can't stop people from farming. So the record keeping for us in the last 10 years on the fertilizer side, 10 times more than what it was before we actually had people doing it. Then comes in the new part of the ag waiver with the quick nitrate testing, the complete soil samples, the tissue analysis for heavy metals like cadmium, and arsenic, and they're even talking about uranium now in parts per billion. We've actually hired another person this year only to conduct those tests. Now, when you look at uranium and you look at cadmium and arsenic and all the way down the line, zinc and everything else, it's in the water, it's in the soil, it's in the air. So this, you know, Codex standards of 0.2 parts per billion, and then when you get to the uranium parts per trillion, we have a new guy who just started that's all he's doing. We've gone from several thousand samples in a year to maybe this year 50,000. And in fact, instead of having guys drive around in pickups, we're actually looking at Priuses and Volkswagens. And, you know, as we got these guys running around, you know, 20 miles a gallon or 50. You know, possibly a Tesla might have to be demoed for this, you know. Try it out myself, but so the record keeping, and so we're creating jobs of people shuffling paper, and but we're going to stay hardline that the folks that own that information are the folks that are paying us to gather that information. We are not going to disclose it to Safeway or Walmart or anybody in the name of Global Gap or anything else. And so that's what we're going to stick to. But a lot more record keeping.
Yeah, I think it's the same for all of us across the board, especially in the compost side of it, just because of the applications and the way we apply it, and some of it's through spreaders and different applications. And we the same, definitely after that E. coli scare, it took a big hit on all of us, and I think it just, one side of it actually make it better and safer for all of us, I guess. So going forward, it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do. We got to be thinking ahead of the curve, and I think dealing with a lot of our growers and their food safety standards, and I think the thing that's been the challenge a little bit in the food safety side too is that we've had our leafy greens, but then we have some of the growers and some of the big corporations. They want to add a little bit more to that. They want to do a little extra. So you try to get yourself on a standard of the industry and where to be, but then it seems like you're having to do 2 or 3 different steps for different growers. So you just try to implement the highest standard out there is your baseline, and try to achieve those, especially with the compost, because you're dealing with your turnings. We have temperature logs that we've got to keep showing the cycles, and we send that to every grower when we send them their bill. They get all their food safety data they need to be compliant. The thing I see about technology going forward is what I kind of heard earlier is that I think it'll help us monitor some of that. Some of this, the technology, I know it's a struggle for me, I'm gonna have to have my son do it because I can't do it. But, you know, I think that aspect may help out where we're able to do more, like say off our smartphones, off computers, iPads, where you can get that data log with, say our compost, having probes in your compost that are monitoring those temperatures 24/7, so that way it gives you a better feedback. So I think it's just, you know, if we want to be in business and keep doing business in California, I think we just have to keep trying to be ahead of the curve and set the standards, because obviously they're going to make us do that. So, and it's definitely made it tougher for all of us to be in business, and especially you, the growers, what you have to comply with, and we got to be right there with you to be your customer. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses. I think it's made us better and safer, but it's sure been kind of hell on everybody getting there, I gotta say. So, very costly, but I guess it is what it is. So, thank you.
Just time for one last quick question. You know, Convert Organics is in the liquid organic fertilizer business, and I think we've seen a few things change in the organic arena. I was at CAPCA this year in Reno, and it seemed like there were more folks pitching organics than ever before. Liquid, dry, you name it. And so I'd love to hear what your crystal balls say about the future of organics, where it's at, where it's been. Are you writing more? You know, what the trend is there? Try to keep it brief because I don't want to mash on the next speaker. But you know, just the future of organics and where it's at, and maybe even as it relates to conventional as well.
Thanks, Steve. I'll be brief. Organics are critical in our soil, whether it's certified organic or whether we're looking at just putting carbon-based materials into the soil. The two greatest challenges that we're going to have here as far as crop production coming up in the next decades is water management as well as nutrient management. We're obviously hanging our hat on biology because it plays a critical part, but it does not function without having an organic base in the soil. So organics is critical, and I think what we need to look at is looking at it more from a scientific perspective and not from an emotional perspective as to whether something is certified organic. We've got to better understand the science and what organics really do to soils. And I think that's probably something I'd like you guys to take home and think about. Bye.
That's exactly right. Organics is growing in our area, but soil biology is the biggest part of a well-rounded organic system. You know, it's not as quick a release as you will with conventional fertilizers, but you can utilize the soil biology and its stableness to get the most out of it.
Organics about 25% of our business. My father started doing it back in the 80s. It's been a slow growth process, but we can see that any retailer's organic business is growing 25% year over year. It's a big part of the marketplace. There's a lot of things that happen in organics that aren't organic. I don't know if people realize that we can use sulfuric acid and phosphoric acid to stabilize pHs in organic liquid products. We've seen that it doesn't work if you don't use these chemicals added in with the organics, but it's a big focus in our business. I look to products that I can use on organic and conventional, so that someday maybe we don't have to have 600 products in our warehouse, and use the same thing on both. There's a big place for dry. There was a big scare after the E. coli outbreak about applying liquid organics onto germinated crops, and there were some companies, maybe some in the room here, that banned that practice. Animal-based products put on plants that are out of the ground, but a lot of dry pellets and a lot of our infrastructure going in towards products that we can use on organic and conventional the same.
I've kind of seen over the years, it seemed like in the organic world, it seemed like everybody was doing it or trying to dabble a little bit in it, but it seemed like it's separated. It seemed like, from what I've seen from the company standpoint, that the people that were truly organic and got into it a big way. The big, I guess they made a decision instead of going both. I've seen more on the compost side that a lot of the either companies, Earthbound, and different people go all organic, or there's more of that. I guess I've seen over the years that some of the farmers have kind of got out of some of the organic. Either you're in it or you're not. I guess I don't know. It seems like what I see there, but from the compost standpoint, we deal and have Omri certified compost, and obviously that's tracked, and you know, you process it the same, you do the same, but your inputs and what you do and the materials, the equipment that you use for it obviously have to be handled a different way. So you know, it's definitely been a little bit different on the organic side over the last few years, but it has grown. I mean, we've probably grown, you know, like say 25-30% of the industry, what kind of comes up in the valley, but I just noticed that it seems like more people are either in it or they're not. So.
What a great panel. Wasn't that great discussion? Let's give them a round of applause. I know everybody hasn't been here all day, so those that are just arriving, I just want to acknowledge that this is the first time it's ever happened. It's our Salinas Valley Ag Technology Summit. There's obviously sponsors and partners and vendors. We just really want to acknowledge that we can lead and we will lead and not follow. And so I will announce now that next year we're set for the 26th of March. So mark your calendars, the word will get out. But I found this particularly enjoyable, and I appreciate you guys all being here. I'm sure you've got a wife or a loved one or a suegra, you know, something you can, you know, these are locally grown petunias donated by American Taki. They're wave type, Opera Supreme, newer variety, creeping, smaller blooms, handle the elements well, so put them to good use. Again, thank you very much. Our next panel is going to set up right away. Yeah, we're just rolling. That'll be our last panel. You know, as there's a few moments, I encourage you to visit the vendors. You know, there's quite a few in here. I was just checking out the sanctuary, which is good. Everything flows to the ocean. My dad's here. That's Tom McShane. Yeah, Dad. We're on camera. All right, very good. So we got a few moments. We'll get the next panel set up, and one more time, a round of applause for our presenters.